In the previous video that we can use filters in the filter gallery to create a final overall unifying feel to the final composition. And you can use as many of those as you want, but I will tell you, don't just apply them. They need to make sense. Apply them because they work with the style of your work. Apply them wisely. Don't allow them to overpower or become the focal point. You see that sometimes with movies where the special effects will become the movie rather than the story. And the same way with still images. You want to make sure that the filters that you're applying have purpose and they're not just there to add them. Because I'll see students do that. They'll go, oh, I'm done. Let's come in here and let's, oh, I don't know, let's do this. And it, oh, ugh, you see, I mean, up close, it just looks like I've just dumped. It's pretty cool in the sense that it made it three-dimensional, but it just really dumped this gooey liquid all over it. I can take that out. Yeah, I totally don't like that, but up close it looked good. Okay, so you can apply these to enhance your work. Then that's exactly what they should do. They shouldn't just be something you throw on there to throw them on there. Other filters you have. Let's go image adjustments. Are these your adjustment layers? You can also use them as filters. And there's one that's actually a photo filter. Whoops. What does that? Image adjustments photo filter. It will adjust the overall color of your image. You can control how much. We used to, when we still did manual photography, we used to put glass filters on our cameras to create all these really cool effects that you can now do in Photoshop. So you have all these, you can pick any color. It doesn't even have to be a set color. You can come in here and say, well, I want this color, and it will put on that color. I don't want that, but you see how that can work. Another thing you can do, I'm gonna zoom up, pull this out just a little bit, is I'm gonna create a new layer and I'm going to apply, oops, let's go. Whoops, let's switch this color. And I'm just going to pour paint on that layer. And then I'm going to work with a blending mode. And that's another way to, well, that's kind of cool. Okay, let's just try this, see what this looks like. Okay, so we've applied this and it's cool, but it's not quite right. So I can come in here and make an adjustments to this fill. I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe want to try something with the opacity. No. I don't know, it's okay. Let's try something else. That's kind of cool. Okay, color dodge. Let's adjust the fill. Oh, that's better. I don't think I like that the main color, but usually, let's see, hard mix, that fill, if you reduce that fill, usually hard mix looks really bad, but if you reduce the fill on that, you tend to get better results. And what that does is it allows elements of the image beneath to balance out with that blending mode or blended layer. It says I want the fill to be 56% instead of 100%. Just controls how much this applies to that. That's your control. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick with this, but I'm gonna show you another thing you can do. And this works really great for bad skies. If you want to fix the sky, you can create an adjustment layer out of a gradient. And I'm just going to show you this on here by pulling out the paint bucket and going to the gradient tool. And I have some tools up here at the top, and I'm going to pull this down. and it has some presets in here that I can select. Let's go to purple since the main colors in here are purple. It will also work with colors in your toolbar, and that's what it has done up here. That's the default. Let's just select, I don't know, we'll see. We'll select that. Okay, now once you've selected it, you have some more choices. This one is a gradient from left to right. This one is radial. This one is angled. This one's reflected and diamond. And let's just do the radial so I can explain it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come onto my composite, my canvas, my artboard, and I'm going to click and I'm going to hold, I'm going to drag, and you see the dot it created? That is one color. And then when I let go, it faded into the other color. Oh, let's make the fill 100%. And it created this gradient. Now, watch what happens if I do a shorter line. My short line looks like that. You get a harder edge. So say you have a sky and a ground and you want to use this, you want to do a shorter line. It creates that harder edge, but I'm going to make sure. And you can use your grid to snap to keep that line straight. I, for saving my life, can't get it straight. No, that's pretty good. Okay, so you see you can create a really hard line like that. If I do a long line like this, it blends completely, which may be what I want for this. And then you can use that as your, that's pretty cool. I like that. And you can use that as your filter. And just one more way to create an overall feel. And just make sure you're not applying this to your final Photoshop image as anything permanent. If you're going to do it, you can create a fill down here with a gradient. Turn that off. Oh, it's not going to let me because I'm more still with this. Actually, let's delete it so it doesn't even get in the way. And I'm going to select this and create clipping mask. Oh, it's not going to do it to this because it's locked. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay, and then now I'm going to... Ooh, I like that too. And then do it this way. So if you're going to do this as something that you save inside your Photoshop file, do it non-destructively. Because, you know, what happens if you decide these colors and then you print it out and it doesn't look right and you need to change it. It's just so much easier to do it this way than to try to go back and change one color on a permanent layer that you've done. Or you can do it as just a layer, right, as I initially did. And this will give you the ability to change it. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll save my Photoshop file and I will work with it, save it as multiple copies, and then work with those copies and play around with layers and adjustment layers and try to get different looks and different effects. And because at the end of the day, I like this, but it's not contrasty enough. So what I would do is edit, image, layer, flatten image, and then image adjustments, and I'm just going to work with the exposure to get that gamma correction. Let's do a little bit of offset, just a little bit. And you see how it increased my contrast? Now, it's always this. There we go. So I had to flatten it in order to be able to do that. Or, what I could have done. Oh, I keep forgetting. I've got to go to my history. It took away my step back. It's always great when software adds stuff, but when they flatten image. I don't want to flatten anymore. You can do your exposure level. And I can do all the same things I did before. Yep, see, all the same. Okay. And I mean, if it was just one layer I was working with, I would create a clipping mask. But this is applying it to the overall image. And so do you see I've now created I've taken my artwork to the next level. I've unified it, I've refined it, I've given it something a little bit more. Okay? And so that when you're doing these things, when you're working with these gradients, when you're working with these filters, make sure they have reason and meaning and they're not just something you did. Now, sometimes you have happy accidents, to quote Bob Ross. Sometimes you do something and it just works out. Most of the time it won't. And if you're looking at something that doesn't feel right, that's usually why. It's usually because you or the person's work that you're looking at have just made a random decision. And so that's why you want to make sure that you're making decisions based on the style of the artwork you have, which is why you do that principles and elements chart to begin with. Eventually you get so good at it you don't have to really do it so much anymore. You just sort of know. Your brain builds this giant library and you just go with it. So practice, play around with it. The more you do, the stronger your work will get, and eventually you'll develop your own style and you'll know what that looks like. Okay, so we're gonna end it here.